Hi, my name's Phil Laidler. I'm Director of Consulting SDL Partners. What I'd like to do today is run through a nice way of trying to tie together customer experience with new two-sided business models. So if we look at the telecom industry today, we face a couple of challenges. The first one is that we need to provide a differentiated customer experience for our customers based around more control and choice of services. Another challenge that we face is that we need to try and move away from our one-sided business model that has done us well for all these years and try and look for new sources of revenue through two-sided business models. So combining these two challenges, intuitively the industry and most people in the industry feel that they are related, but how can we easily fit them together in a way that is clear for our customers, for our teams and employees and for our investors? I'd like to have a go today at doing that. To do that, I want to step back to 2005. 2005 and Amazon. Now Amazon back then were a very successful one-sided business model. They had created a very successful business around books and other products and services over their site. And one could say they were a great example of a company delivering a fantastic customer experience. However, they were facing some challenges. One of the challenges is they were not able to continue to grow as much as they wanted to. And in fact, they were growing slightly behind the e-commerce industry. And they were facing increasing competition from the likes of eBay, and a lot of the bricks and mortar players had sort of woken up to the online world and were competing more effectively against Amazon. So what Amazon did is they did something very, very counterintuitive by many regards, is they opened up their services to other vendors so that other people could sell the same goods, the same products as Amazon on their platform to their customers. That's very counterintuitive. And to try and express the rationale for doing that, Jeff Bezos, CEO of Amazon, drew a diagram. He drew it on a napkin. It was known as the napkin diagram. And this is how he articulated the need and the vision around moving from a one-sided to a two-sided business model. And what he said is that for them, Amazon, selection was absolutely critical, and they wanted to provide selection. And by inviting other vendors on board, they could increase the selection. That delivered a much better customer experience, which in turn drove customers back to Amazon's website. And that traffic attracted more sellers back onto their platform. And they saw this as a virtuous circle. By bringing these groups together, they could create more and more revenues, and they could grow their business and generate more growth. They then noticed that they could look for a second flywheel, as they called it, which is not so much around growing revenues, but around reducing their cost base. And what they saw is that they could get more and more people on board, lower their cost base, and thereby giving their customers lower prices, which in turn delivered a better experience. If we look a little bit more detail at Amazon's customer experience, what they really emphasized was choice and selection. So for them, it's paramount to be able to continue to offer their customers best possible choice and the most possible selection, even to the point that they have product ads. Therefore, they allow customers to click off their site. They drive traffic off their site for the products and services that they themselves and their vendors on their marketplace don't offer, because for them, choice is that important. Value is also critical, and to the point that not straight away, but eventually, Amazon allowed the other vendors that they invited onto their platform to own the buy box. The buy box is the little icon which you default at. If you've seen the products you want, you click on that and you can buy it right away. Initially, they did not make the buy box available to their other vendors. So if Amazon was selling a product, the other vendors' offers would be listed, but they wouldn't make it available. Eventually, Amazon allowed it if the vendors were offering the product at a lower price than Amazon, and if they met one or two other criteria regarding their ratings, they could own the buy box. This would lead to an order of magnitude more volume sales for them. So it was so important that they would actually allow the other vendors to take the sale. And critically to the user experience for Amazon has always been a very ease of use, one-click ordering, which they've actually patented and others have to pay them a license fee for, and a very, very painless returns process. So for them, it's been critical as part of their overall experience of ease of use. Interestingly, although we think of Amazon as being a highly automated service, they do involve people, and they involve people in customer service. So when things really go wrong, it's not automated. There is a person at the end of an email or at the end of a phone call who will deal with your inquiry. And that's very important for them to drive trust in their service so that people are more confident in using it. Finally, and critically, the key to Amazon service and customer experience is the discovery and personalisation, which they are masters at. And for them, the process of discovery and personalisation is part of the value that their customers have. So far from being someone interfering with the customer and trying to force on and prompt them with suggestions that they don't want, the customers highly value that discovery and personalisation process because it makes the whole experience so much better. Perhaps what Amazon don't emphasise so much, but it is worth noting, is that although they've invited all these vendors onto their platform, they do keep control points. And they keep control points in many ways. They commoditise the vendors. And if you talk to vendors on Amazon's platform, they have a love-hate relationship with Amazon. Amazon's very critical to their business. It drives a lot of business their way, but they are somewhat marginalised from their customers, and their brand is somewhat submissive to the overall Amazon brand. So there's a balance there, and it's wrong to think that what Amazon did just open everything up and let the other vendors just pour in. It's very carefully managed, and it's managed through how they present and allow their vendors to present themselves. What Amazon then did after they'd introduced this was to create a whole bunch of new platforms, a whole stack of platforms all around driving more and more business and sharing the benefits with other parties. And it's now really, Amazon thinks itself, far from being an e-tailer, it thinks of itself as a platform business. This is a fundamental transformation in how it views itself and the opportunities and the role it plays, which is why, for example, Amazon's such a big player in cloud today. So if we think about telcos, what have telcos got? What have operators got of value? Well, one of the things they've got of considerable value is customer data. I say they share that with the customers, and it's not something that operators we can just exploit willy-nilly, but it's there. And there is a huge amount of very underexploited assets that, if they can be effectively released in the right way with a full consent and understanding of the customers of what's going on, then a huge amount of value can be created. And we think the key principles that need to apply here through the work we've been doing with the World Economic Forum and the programme we've been following for the last couple of years are the following ones. First of all, there needs to be transparency, and it needs to be crystal clear to the customer what's going on. The next key concept is trust. Everything that the operator does regarding the customer's data has to reinforce that trust. The third component is control. Customers do need to feel they have the control of how their data is being used and how it's being put to use. And it's being put to use also for their value. Possibly the one area where we've seen operators break down and not work effectively is in sharing the value and the benefits that derive from the customer data back to the customers. And as long as they can keep these four principles in mind, we think operators have got an opportunity to really mine what we refer to as a new oil, which is the customer data. So how does this apply these concepts? How can we think about these concepts, take some of what we've learned from Amazon and apply that to customer experience and two-sided business models for telcos? Well, we'd like to start with digital confidence, actually a term that O2 Telefonica use for describing some of what they're doing. Digital confidence is trying to build the confidence, the willingness to interact with the digital economy. And a lot of the time, we think about the top 5, 10% of early adopters as being the key people to service. But actually, what's much more interesting is the broader population base. And we think that telcos have got a specific role in helping to build their digital confidence and interacting with the digital economy. To build digital confidence, if you can do that, you begin to drive more customer interactions. And through the customer interactions, you do get the knowledge and the insight and the understanding of who the customers are and what they want. That, of course, allows you to offer more customised, more relevant services and solutions to your customers, thereby completing the virtuous circle of building their digital confidence. And you can continue to work on this loop, on this virtual circle or this flywheel, similarly to the flywheel defined by Amazon, and build more and more growth through trust. And we think that if you can get this wheel going and bring on board more third parties, what we refer to as upstream partners, you can also drive more services and continue to drive that virtuous circle. So we'd like operators to start thinking about this as their core business, as this growth and customer data as a core asset, and working how to use that to develop this confidence and fundamentally change the customer experience and fundamentally change their relationship and their relevance with their customers. Thank you.